Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Muslims pray to God with their point of reference as the Kaaba. It has been chosen for us as a direction for our prayers. In today's video, I want to discuss and explore why this is the case. Why is there an appointed direction to pray towards, told to us directly by God? Is it a necessity? Is it more of a convenience? Or is it something else? Further, why was the Kaaba specifically chosen for this purpose? Well, first of all, we learn from the Quran how the Kaaba came to be. It was Ibrahim and his son Ismail who were commanded and entrusted by God to raise the foundations of his house, as is mentioned in Surah Baqarah, verse 125 and 127. From derivations of Quranic verses, we get to know that before this construction, the area around the Kaaba used to be barren. When Ibrahim was commanded to leave his wife and child there, he turned to Allah and made a dua that he had left his offspring in a barren valley so that they may establish prayer. And his dua was to make the hearts of people incline towards them and to provide them with sustenance. This dua is mentioned in Surah Ibrahim, verse 37. From it, we get to learn two things that I want to discuss further. Firstly, that the site of the Kaaba was already known even before its construction. This incident took place when Ismail was a small child, and we know that Ismail contributes towards building the Kaaba. So, logically speaking, at the time of this event, Ibrahim leaving his wife and child in the desert, the Kaaba had not been constructed yet. This raises a question: how is the site of the Kaaba already known? It's an interesting question, and we do not have a lot of definitive evidence to answer it. We have been told in Surah Al Imran, verse 96, that the first house of worship ever established for humanity is the one at Bakka. Something worthy of mention here is that the place referred to in this verse is Bakka, not Makkah. Historically, this has been interpreted to mean the same, that Bakka and Makkah are equivalent words, particularly due to the fact that the B and M were interchangeable in the dialect used during the time of the Prophet. In either case, it is widely accepted that this verse refers to Makkah. Coming back to our point, Makkah was considered holy even before Ibrahim, as we just saw. It could be that this specific place has been chosen particularly for some reason known by God. Various people have attempted to explain the significance of this location, though these are all theories. I do not want to dive into these as I want to stick strictly to what we know from the Quran. This place has been established as holy by God Himself, for whatever reasons God has. Moving to our second point regarding the event of Ibrahim leaving his family in the desert. We learn why Ibrahim was entrusted for this major task, to raise the foundations of the sacred house of Allah. This fact is also referred to in Surah Baqarah, verse 130 and 131. Ibrahim was chosen by God in this life and the next. Throughout his story, we continuously see why. He faced test after test. And Surah Baqarah, verse 131 says, إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. When his Lord ordered him, submit to my will, he responded, I submit to the Lord of all worlds. So that is the story of how the Kaaba as we know it today was established. And we begin to understand why it was such a massive problem when the Quraysh used it as the center for their idol worship during the time of the Prophet. It was a desecration of such a holy site. Moving further, we are still yet to establish what is the purpose of having this Kaaba as the direction we all turn to for our prayers. Sure, it is holy and sacred, but why a central direction? There is a religious answer to this, and then there are a number of logical answers. As should be the priority, let us first discuss the religious answer. During the time of the Prophet, it was not the case from the beginning that Muslims would face the Kaaba during their prayer. Instead, the direction was initially Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem, another holy site. It is an area where countless prophets have passed through, and has references to in the Quran as well, referred to as the furthest mosque and the Holy Land, which Moses was sent to. The command to face towards the Kaaba came later on, with the famous story narrated to us of the Prophet changing direction mid-prayer. The command is given in Surah Baqarah, verse 144. The Prophet had longed for the Kaaba in Mecca to be the Qibla, and he often used to pray for it, turning his face towards the heavens. His prayer was answered with this verse. Again, the Prophet might have known something we do not, about why Mecca is such a holy place. Further, we are also told why the Qibla was changed in the first place. Why was the Kaaba not the original direction in the first place? The answer is simple. It was simply no more than a test of obedience, as mentioned in Surah Baqarah, verse 143. The change in direction caused controversy, as mentioned in Surah Baqarah, verse 142. However, this changing of direction was a test to see who would follow the Prophet and who would not. After all, the direction of prayer does not really matter. God owns all directions. Simply put, the very fact that we follow a command from God to face a direction in prayer is an act of obedience. Before we move on to the logical reasons for having a single direction for worship, I want to discuss a few more points regarding the change from Al Aqsa to Mecca. There are a few possible reasons Masjid Al Aqsa was chosen as the first direction for prayer. First of all, Jerusalem has a long history and connection with earlier prophets. This will link early Islam to those older Abrahamic faiths, presenting it as not a new religion, but a continuation of the faith of Abraham. Having it as the direction for prayer in the early days of Islam might have been because of that. And secondly, the change in Qibla had another influence of the need of an independent Muslim identity. In Medina, Muslims lived together with the Jewish tribes. Both of them, at the time, prayed facing the same direction, to Jerusalem. By shifting the direction from Jerusalem to Mecca, Muslims gained a more distinct identity. Finally, there are a few logical reasons for having a single direction for worship I want to discuss. There is a need to have a single direction to unify our prayers. Without a fixed direction, prayers would be scattered, defeating the purpose of congregations. Congregations symbolize the unity of the Ummah, all standing shoulder to shoulder, praying to the same one God. Having a fixed direction creates order in worship and unity within congregation. And what better direction to pray towards than a sacred place, made sacred by God Himself, as we discussed earlier. Finally, the Kaaba serves as more than just a direction for worship. It is a physical anchor for the global Islamic religion. Muslims are scattered across the globe, with a variety of cultures and backgrounds. The Kaaba acts as the central point, where all Muslims are united, facing the same direction in prayer, making pilgrimages, offering Hajj. The Kaaba is a symbolic and sacred location for unity and spirituality within Islam. That's it for today's video. We discussed the origins of the Kaaba through Abraham. We saw that God has declared it sacred. We discussed the change in the Qibla from Masjid al-Aqsa to the Kaaba. And finally, we talked about reasons for this change and why a single direction has been appointed to us for our prayers. I hope you got to learn something new. Feel free to let me know any topics that you would like to see discussed. Inshallah, see you all soon.